After their entire classroom explodes in a brilliant light, a girl finds herself reincarnated in the body of a spider monster. When her spider siblings and parents start eating each other, she runs away in fear. Wishing she had an appraisal skill like in games, a strange voice suddenly rings in her head asking if she would like to use all her skill points to gain the appraisal skill, which she excitedly accepts. However, she finds out it only gives very basic information. Appraising herself just tells her that she's a nameless spider. Since Nameless is very hungry, she forces herself to eat a corpse of a fellow spider, and she gains the title King Eater and the skill Taboo. Nameless also makes a house of webs to hide from enemies. A frog monster then gets trapped in one of her webs, and Nameless has to fight and kill the frog, getting grievously injured from its poison attacks in the process. Despite it tasting bad, Nameless forces herself to eat the poisonous frog to survive. Meanwhile, some of her classmates also get reincarnated. There's a prince of the Analite Kingdom, Shun, the duke's daughter Katya, Shun's pet dragon Fee, Hugo, the prince of Rengzin Empire, Yuri, a saint in training, and their teacher Ms. Oka, who is now an elf. The group is at a party and is planning to attend the human magical school. The next morning, Fee tells Shun that she thinks that she is reincarnated as a pet dragon since she believes it is punishment for bullying their classmate Wakaba in the past. She asks Oka, their teacher, who spent the last 15 years finding the other reincarnations, if Wakaba is okay, but Oka tells her she hasn't found her yet. Back in the dungeon, Nameless is still hunting and eating poisonous frogs to survive, leveling up in the process, which heals her wounds. She then catches a human in one of her webs. The human burns the webs and drops a dragon egg. Nameless tries to eat it but finds it too hard to crack. Then the humans come back and burn Nameless home, forcing her to run away, leaving everything behind. Her lack of strength makes her depressed and motivates her to level up her skills more by fighting more monsters. She starts taking advantage of her speed and small size to ambush larger predators. After killing a huge snake, she finally gains enough level to evolve herself. Nameless continues to hunt monsters and develop her web skills. Unfortunately, she once again encounters some humans hunting her. The humans chase after her, but she was able to stop them after luring them into a pack of monsters. Unfortunately, her reckless running causes her to slip and fall into a large hole deeper into the labyrinth she lives in. Meanwhile, Shun and his classmates are having a practical class in school. Meanwhile, Hugo, one of the reincarnations and a former jock, starts bragging about his strong magical abilities. Unfortunately, their class is interrupted when an earth dragon attacks them. Their professor blocks the attack, saving them but getting injured in the process. Hugo happily attacks the dragon, but its innate magic defense was too high and Hugo gets knocked away by his swipe. Shun jumps into action to give time for his other students to flee. Sue, Shun's younger sister, and the other reincarnated students also join him in distracting the dragon. The group was able to distract the dragon, but it's proving to be too much for them to handle alone. Fee decides to help them and attacks the dragon, injuring it enough to capture its attention. This gives Shun enough time to decapitate the dragon, killing it. The other students cheer them on, but Shun notices that Fee is sad. Fee just obtained the King's Lair title and the Taboo skill. Meanwhile, Nameless just hits the bottom of the hole she fell into. She immediately hides upon seeing the powerful monsters living there. There she also saw for the first time Earth Dragon Araba. Araba leaves, ignoring Nameless. With no monsters in sight, Nameless assesses her surroundings and finds out she fell into the lower stratum of the labyrinth. Since it's full of powerful monsters, Nameless is forced to hide all the time. She also needs to eat poisonous worms just to survive. Thankfully, she can still kill and eat weak monsters. One of the monsters she encounters is a monkey-type monster. Using her web and poison skills, she was able to defeat the monkey, but it released a high-pitched scream before it died. Nameless decides to rest at a nearby wall, but she wakes up to find an army of monkeys trying to get to her. The monkeys start climbing the wall, and Nameless once again enters a battle for her survival. Using a variety of tactics like dropping poisons or webbing up the wall, she was able to kill and defeat the monkeys. However, she brushed with death a couple of times and was only saved through leveling up. After the battle, Nameless is a lot stronger, so she decides to explore the labyrinth. She finds a winding passage going up and follows it, excited to go back to the upper stratum of the labyrinth. Unfortunately, she has to go through the middle stratum, which is a lava zone. In the lava zone, Nameless webs immediately burn up and she gets attacked by fish-type monsters spitting lava at her. Left with no choice, she retreats to the lower stratum to get stronger. She looks upon the list of skills available to her and sees one called Pride, which increases all her stats and gives her abyss magic. She chooses it, making her stronger, but also leveling up her Taboo skill. At the Magic Academy, Faye also gets bigger thanks to leveling up after defeating the Earth Dragon. Yuri, One of the reincarnated and now a religious fanatic saintess in training keep convincing Shun to join her church. She also warns him to report anyone with the taboo skill, since they should be killed. Shun gets uncomfortable since he knew Faye obtained the taboo skill after saving them from the Earth Dragon. Meanwhile, Hugo is intensely jealous of the attention Shun was getting after saving their classmates. Back at the labyrinth, Nameless gets attacked by another Earth Dragon, Kagna. This forces Nameless to go to the lava zone, but thanks to getting a bunch of skills like fire resistance, she can survive. She battles with the different monsters there, including a seahorse-type monster and a catfish-type monster. After defeating them, Nameless once again eats them and finds the catfish-type monster to be especially delicious. She decides to hunt more catfish to satiate her hunger. Shun's brother, the hero Julius, is entering the labyrinth after getting a mission to defeat a spider-type monster. Meanwhile, Nameless just encounters a strong snake-type monster in the lava zone. Nameless was able to trick the snake to ingest a large amount of her poison, thereby killing it after a long battle. The strong monster gives Nameless enough experience to evolve once again. She uses the body of the snake to hide and evolve into the higher-leveled spider of Zuail. After evolving, she obtains new skills like detection, which allows her to see her surroundings differently, and parallel minds, which allows her to have another brain doing different tasks. Meanwhile, the hero Julius and his party finally encounter their enemy, the spider called Nightmare's Vestige, along with some other spider enemies. The party fights with the monsters, and Julius is finally able to deal a finishing blow when the Nightmare's Vestige seems to freeze up in fear. Unbeknownst to them, the demon lord ruling the demon lands is plotting something, and it involves Julius. Nameless gets a new skill called Evil Eye. It allows her to inflict a curse on the enemy by merely staring at them. She tries the skill on a frog monster and is surprised at how well the skill works. At the Magic Academy, Shun and his friends are talking about the other reincarnations. Miss Oka tells them that of the 26 individuals in the class, she had rescued 11 of them. 6 are at the school, she knows the location of the 2, and 4 are confirmed dead. Shun thanks her teacher for taking care of them, and Ms. Oka suspiciously warns them that they shouldn't level up their skills. That afternoon, their class is conducting a field exercise by collecting herbs in the mountains in different groups. The students decide on their groups by drawing lots, which resulted in Ms. Oka, Shun, and Hugo being in the same group. Shun leaves his group to collect some herbs, but comes running back after hearing the sounds of battle. He arrives just in time to see Hugo beating up their other classmates. Hugo had decided to create an elaborate plan where he would kill his group and report back that a monster attacked them, but he was the only one to survive. The two fight, but Hugo slowly overwhelms Shun with his numerous skills. He was about to kill Shun when Oka reveals herself and easily defeats Hugo. Oka then uses a mysterious skill that strips away all of Hugo's skills and stat points. Back at the labyrinth, Nameless is complaining that maxing the levels of her skills like appraisal didn't give her new skills. Her ceaseless complaining is interrupted when she suddenly receives a message telling her that Administrator D had received her request. She then obtains the skill of Wisdom. She is ecstatic with her new awesome skills, but she starts to wonder who this D person is and if she is just a character inside a video game. Back at the Magic Academy, Hugo is throwing a tantrum in his room after losing all his powers. He declares to get revenge on Ms. Oka and Shun for thwarting his plans. A mysterious girl suddenly speaks up out of nowhere and offers her help, telling her that she is also a reincarnation like him. The next day, Shun is reminiscing about their high school days before they were reincarnated. In the past, their class was hanging out at the park, with Shun with his friends Canada, who is now the girl Keisha, and Kiuya, who is still missing. The jock Natsume, now Hugo, tries to invite them to play soccer, but they decline. Shun then goes to buy some drinks and encounters their classmate Nejishi, who they call Spooky due to her looks. After buying drinks, he was about to go back when he saw their classmate Shinohara, now Fee, bullying their other classmate, the introvert Wakaba. Shun interrupts Shinohara's bullying and helps Wakaba. Shun wakes up from his daydreaming and asks Oka about the status of their other classmates. Shun asks about Kiuya, and Ms. Oka uncomfortably tells him that Kiuya is still alive. Meanwhile, Faye asks about Wakaba, but Ms. Oka tells her Wakaba is gone. In the labyrinth, Nameless decides to give different jobs to her parallel minds, one to control her body, another to calculate magic, and herself to make the decisions. With their team set up, they encounter a wounded fire dragon. The fire dragon attacks them, and Wakaba fights back with her new skills. However, the battle turns sour when the fire dragon destroys the land she was standing on. In the human lands, Shun is meeting with his brother, the hero Julius, who came home for a while. Julius notices Faye, who is now all grown up, and reminisces about the time they found her 15 years ago along with some spider silk he now wears as a scarf. It turns out that Faye is the same egg that Nameless tried to eat 15 years ago. Julius then leaves to head to his new mission in the Demon Land's borders. Meanwhile, Nameless was able to defeat the fire dragon using her heresy magic. Nameless tries to eat the dragon, but she stops when she detects someone very strong coming. A warp abruptly opens and a man walks out. The man tries to talk to Nameless, but they can't understand each other. Out of nowhere, a smartphone appears and the man talks on the smartphone. The man leaves and the voice on the other end starts talking to Nameless. She introduces herself as D, a sort of god, and tells Nameless that she's watching her for entertainment. The smartphone disappears, leaving behind Nameless, who is still confused. Back in the present, the Demon Lord is meeting with her commanders about the upcoming war with the humans. Some commanders start fighting because they didn't want to join the war, but the Demon Lord stops them using a couple of web strings. With her forces ready, the Demon Lord orders the attack. Back in the Magic Academy, Shun just received a new title, Hero. This confuses Shun as there can only be one hero at all times and the current one is his brother. This would mean his brother is now gone. In the labyrinth, Nameless is overthinking about what Dee just told her. However, since she still can't understand it, she decides to ignore it, but instead learns spatial magic. She also finally finds the path back to the upper stratum, finally escaping the lava zone she was stuck in. Back in the human kingdom, Shun, his father, and his brothers are mourning the death of Julius. They just learned that the demons attacked and 4 out of 8 fortresses have been destroyed. One of the few surviving fortresses was defended by Ronant, the strongest human mage. Ronant surveys the destroyed landscape surrounding his fortress. His soldiers start singing his praises, but Ronan admits he isn't actually strong. There is another stronger being than him, like the spider he encountered 15 years ago. 15 years ago, Ronan and a team of soldiers were sent to the labyrinth to find out why the monsters were running out in fear. Inside, they find that it is full of webs and Ronan burns them. Further inside, they find the source of the problem, a Zoel spider that scared away all the other monsters. Ronan starts going crazy after appraising the spider, seeing all its stats and skills. The spider drops down in front of them and the soldiers start attacking it. Unfortunately, the spider proved to be too overwhelming, killing them all with just a stare. Thankfully, Ronan and one other soldier was able to escape by using teleportation. Meanwhile, in Nameless POV, she is so angry that the humans once again tried to burn down her home. The fight with the humans also gave her enough experience to evolve into Eid Stain. Nameless evolves into an Eid Stain, but her taboo skill also gets max level. In the present, Shun is training to be the next hero. Faye makes a pact with Shun to always come to his rescue whenever he needs help. The magical pact wraps the two in chains and Faye is suddenly turned back into an egg. Shun appraises the egg and finds out Fee is currently evolving. Back in the labyrinth, Nameless learns that maxing out the taboo level reveals the true history of the world. Nameless finds out that the world is doomed and she decides she needs to save it. To do this, she needs to get stronger. She decides her next goal is to defeat Araba the Earth Dragon. Nameless teleports using spatial magic back to the lower stratum. There he finds Araba fighting with other stronger creatures like a snake-type monster. In the present, Shun meets with Hyrance, the only survivor from his brother's party. Hyrance reveals to him that he should have died instead of Julius, since Julius gave him a phoenix feather that will revive him when he dies. He then tells Julius that a white woman just confronted them and Hyrance woke up being the only one left. He also gives Shun the scarf that Julius was always wearing. Hyrance then promises to join Shun in avenging Julius. In the labyrinth, Nameless is still trying to get stronger and is thinking up ways on how to defeat Araba. Since Araba is an earth dragon, she decides to fight him in the open space hole she initially fell into. As such, she proceeds to kill the B-type monsters living in the hole. With her preparation done, she confronts Araba. Nameless starts floating in the air and pummels Araba with poison magic. Araba dodges all her attacks and retaliates with earth magic. Using trickery, she was able to trap Araba in her webs and rain down magic on her. Unfortunately, Araba decides to use his skill points to get new skills to counter Nameless. Araba uses fire magic to force Nameless back down the hole. Araba also corners Nameless and pierces her with earth magic. Nameless was forced to cut herself to get free and use a rod attack which damages herself along with Araba. The two were left injured in the bottom of the hole. It turns out Nameless was using Sloth skill the whole time, which continually drained Araba's stamina. This was the plan Nameless created since she can never drain Araba's health. Araba calmly accepts his death, which infuriates Nameless since she was fighting for her life the whole. Araba's death goes against her credo of trying to cling to life as long as possible. Since she believes she's now strong enough, Nameless finally decides to leave the labyrinth. In the present, the Demon Lord is reminiscing about the time she fought an Earth Dragon.